Hey, how we doing? We're on day 4, is it? I think it's day 4. It's now Sunday. Operation was on Thursday. Just want to get out and about. Yeah, feeling lethargic. Want to get moving. Taking the dog for a walk. Oh, he's having a poo. That was good timing. Spotted him in the rear view. I'll be back. Okay, made it back home after about a 3 mile walk. The weather was pretty poor, and yeah, quite miserable out there. But it was good to get out, just to get moving. I don't want to be doing too much too soon. Not allowed to do any exercise for 2 weeks, which is a bit annoying, and I can't wear a motorbike helmet for a month. Which, well, I won't be going out in this weather anyway. So around the course of the walk, I came up with about 7 tips that I would have for anybody else thinking about going for a hair transplant. So here we go with those. Number 1 would be having your head shaved. One of my biggest concerns before going out to get the hair transplant was what my head would look like shaved. I'd never had my hair shaved, and I was really concerned about what it was going to look like. That was my biggest hang up by far. So if I'd have known in advance what it would look like, I wouldn't have been so bothered. So how mine came about was in September. I went to Istanbul on a trip and noticed the amount of people that had had hair transplants walking around. You can't really miss them, the bloody shaved head look walking around town. So I noticed that, and I came back and I sort of researched it, trying to find the reason for why everybody was going to Turkey to have it done. And within a few months, I'd had it done. So mid-September, I started researching, and by January, early January, January the 9th, I'm under the knife and job done. So I didn't really have the time in between to shave my head and try and get used to it. But for me, if I were thinking about a transplant a year in advance or 6 months in advance, I would have shaved my head just to see what it looked like, get used to it, let other people get used to it. And the very worst case scenario, in my opinion, is the heart transplant doesn't work. It's a very low chance of that happening, but if it doesn't work, that is what you're going to look like. So then you already know what your worst case is. And then if your hair loss continues anyway, you'd shave it off and you know what you're going to look like. So that would be my number 1 tip for me, would be I would have shaved my hair off in advance if I had the time. Number 2 would be very similar, closely related to that, in terms of almost the anxieties. Not an anxious person, but one of the little niggles I guess I had was what it'd be like coming back through the airport. Waiting around hours in an airport and then a 4-hour flight home. People staring at you and just feeling uncomfortable. I was a bit concerned about that, but the Istanbul airport is full of other people who have had hair transplants. It is not uncommon, to say the least. It's kind of comical how many people had had it done. So they were everywhere. There were 10 people on my flight alone who had had the hair transplant. So I felt completely at ease, and I wish I'd have known that in advance, so it wasn't something that I could sort of worry about. Number 3 would be to take earphones. So I had, in theory, over 3,500 grafts, which is 3,500 holes bored into my head, and then another 3,500 slits in my head for those hairs to go into. So there's a lot of holes going into your head, and you can hear it in your head. So take some earphones, kind of try and drown it out, because if you think about what's happening too much, it weirds you out, or it weirded me out a bit. But as soon as I got the earphones and some loud music on, I felt a lot better. So that's number 3. Number 4 would be the neck pillows. Take a travel pillow. When you've had the operation done, you don't want to be lying down on anywhere that you've had the grafts. You don't want to dislodge anything. So taking a travel pillow made it really easy just to be comfortable and not place any pressure on any of those grafts. I didn't sleep very well, but at least I was comfortable. And now I'm back home, I'm still using that and will do for a few more days until I can lie on the side without worry about about damaging any of the grafts. So travel pillow, great idea. Um, Another tip, I think we're on number 5. Is it number 4 or number 5? I don't know, doesn't matter. Would be booking a seat on the plane on the way home in one of the far corners of the plane. At the very least, do not pick an aisle seat. When people are getting off the plane, they just want to get off. They're in the overhead lockers, pulling things down. So you don't want to be in the way of that, anything knocking on your head or your grafts. So get yourself out of the way. It cost me £15 to select a seat out of the way on the way home. If you can afford business class, well done, la-di-da, whoop-de-doo for you. But if you can afford that, then probably you'd be getting it done in the UK anyway, where it's 10 times more expensive. So on a budget, get yourself out of the way of those disrespectful beeps. Where are we at? Another tip would be to just take shirts. I'm wearing a shirt now. It's easy to get on. You haven't got to put it over your head. So on the day of the surgery, you will get one of those disposable gowns to wear. But when you get back to the hotel, you want to put some other clothes on, or in the morning the next day. I'd taken t-shirts for some reason, and I've got a big bandage around my head, and I don't want to try and get a t-shirt on and worry about dislodging any of the graft or damaging anything. So I would have taken more shirts. You can also wear a vest. I took a vest to wear in the hotel room. Don't wear a vest out of the hotel room. Not cool. So yeah, vests are okay. That you can get those on easily, but think about what you're taking more than I did, because that was a mistake. Another tip would be that because my operation was done so um, impulsively, if you like, and over a short period of time between deciding to have it done and getting it done, if I had longer, I would have got on some of the tablets to help promote hair growth and strengthening, or at least stop any further loss. I've never tried anything in my life before, none of the minoxidils, finasterides, biotins, that kind of thing. I've never used anything, but if I was planning in advance, I'd already get on some of those, try and stop some of the hair loss. But now I've had my transplant, I've been doing my research, and I've decided to go for 3 different pills. There'll be pretty much a daily pill. So finasteride, biotin, and saw palmetto. They're the 3 I'm going to take. This is not my advice to you or anybody else, because a lot of them, or particularly the finasteride, will have some side effects or potentially side effects. So you need to make sure you're comfortable with what you're doing before you try it. But I'm going to give those a go, because minoxidil is not for me. I can't be putting on a liquid every day and getting all greasy hair. That's just not going to fit with my lifestyle. So 3 pills every day, that's what I'm going for. So those are my tips. Having just come back, I suppose we'll just have a little whip around the head as well. We're on day 4, so it's Sunday today. The operation was on Thursday. I've got no pain. I've still got swelling around the back of the head. It doesn't feel painful at all, really. To think of the size of the operation, it's quite a reasonable operation. It's not heart surgery, but it's still quite a big one, really. So it doesn't really hurt. I've just got a bit of swelling up here that's coming out, and around the back of the ears. But I'm hoping it's looking like by tomorrow most of that will have gone. And yeah, just looking forward to this stuff growing, and we'll keep you posted.